Oops, the wrong camera. Just a second.
Hello everyone. Please put a plus in the chat. Oh, I'm turning green. Okay, let me try again. Okay, it's not my day today. Wrong camera, green camera. How about now? So I can see some pluses in the chat. That's nice. Hopefully you can hear me well. Hopefully nothing happens with the video again. It's nice to see some familiar names in the chat. Oh, no. Okay, ladies, as you can see, the technology is not my friend today. How about I switch to the audio only? Please write something. Not just a plus, because I wouldn't understand if it's for the first one or, it's okay. Oh, yeah, let's do something like this. It's okay and fine. Audio is fine. Yeah, please write something like that. Because as you can see, I'm upside down and I'm purple and green. Okay, yeah, so switching to the audio only. I'm sorry about that. Okay. I hope you can hear me now, and I suppose we can begin. I do apologize, especially if we have some new participants here, someone who has been to their first webinar today. Well, usually our platform is more friendly, but today it's not cooperating for whatever reason. So anyway, I think we can begin. I'm really happy to have all of you here to talk about exam preparation. My name is Olga. I'm a teacher and a teacher trainer. And today we're talking about two most popular exams. That would be IELTS and TOEFL. But before that, we will talk about exam stress, its causes and solutions, ways to overcome it, and of course, we'll make a brief overview of both exams. Wow, something strange is going on. Well, and before we start, I would like to ask you a question. What experience do you personally have? Have you taken any of these exams, or maybe some Cambridge exams? Have you prepared your students for the most popular exams, or maybe you have no experience yet? Okay, we have a poll for that. It's interesting that you write in the chat, but it would be nice if you could vote for that as well. I can see that the majority is choosing none. There are some people who took the exam, one of those, maybe more. Someone prepared students for Cambridge exams. TOEFL and IELTS. Still, Cambridge exams are more popular. Okay, so mostly none. It's our leader so far. And some people have taken any of the exams. Okay, so the situation so far is the following. The majority of those who have voted have no experience. Then the runner-up is taking one of the exams, and all the other options, they have equal results. Okay, so those who have any experience, feel free to share. I would appreciate any help if you have something to tell us. Use the chat, share your ideas, and well, I suppose that those who haven't done anything related to all these exams, you'll just get a general quick overview, and maybe you would like to know more and start working with the exams. And I'm sure that you have taken some other exams during your life, your student years, and actually exams, even if they're not language related, they can be difficult. Many people say that exams are stressful. I wonder why. What would you choose in response to this question? Why are exams difficult? Maybe people don't know what to expect. Maybe they don't prepare enough. Maybe they are too nervous. Maybe there's not enough time. Maybe it's just their level of English is too low and it doesn't let them succeed. So we are waiting for the next poll here. Are we going to have a poll? Looks like we're not going to have a poll here. We are. Now I can see that the poll has started. Okay, nervousness seems to be popular, but the situation is changing. They don't prepare enough and their level of English is low. The situation is changing rapidly, but still I can see the tendency that they're too nervous is the most popular. They don't prepare enough and their level of English is too low. They seem to be on more or less the same level, and then they don't know what to expect. Okay. So still nervousness is the most important factor in this situation. So people feel stressed just because they're too nervous, too worried, and they actually make things difficult for themselves. And now I can say that the second place is their level of English is too low. The third place is they don't prepare enough. Okay, so we can return to our presentation. Those of you who have taken international exams, please share in the chat how easy or difficult was it for you, and if it was difficult, then why? Were you nervous? Were you well prepared, or maybe not so much? So if you had any problems, please share with us now. We can always solve such problems that make exams more difficult than they should be. First of all, it's like, common sense. You should start well in advance. If you want to take an exam tomorrow, you are most likely going to be stressed, nervous, you won't have enough time, you won't know what to expect, and you will have all sorts of exam stress. But if you plan your time wisely, if you have several months before the exam, you are likely to succeed. It's very important to know the exam structure, what to expect, which skills are tested, and exactly how, what typical questions are, what typical tests look like, reading, what are the sources of the materials, listening, are you going to hear different accents, one speaker or many speakers, and so on. So the more you know about the exam, the less scary it looks. It's important to develop all skills, because some people think that, oh, reading is easy, I don't need any additional reading practice, I can read well, and then they fail because there's something that they didn't take into account. It's important to enlarge your vocabulary. Whatever exam you are taking, it will never hurt to be able to boast of some sophisticated words and constructions. And for listening, it's very important to learn how to take notes. And we have our first review of TOEFL. Reading not enough time, speaking short time to think about the given topic. Okay, we're going to talk about all this now, and we'll see maybe there are some ways how to help your future students not to be lost with short time to think about speaking. What else is important to know? That we cannot deny that any test is stressful. And it's not good for any person who is taking a test to be stressed, because it has negative effect on everything. It influences fluency. People can slow down if they're stressed because they're searching for words desperately. On the other hand, they can start speaking faster than they normally do, and they can make more mistakes because of that. It influences coherence, because they can jump from one idea to another, and then their speech is not so logical. It influences comprehension. If you missed one point, you start being nervous and trying to remember what was there in that sentence that you didn't catch, and then you miss something that goes next, and in general your result will be worse than you expected. It influences grammar, because if you're nervous you can make more mistakes than usual. Vocabulary, you can forget something that you practice specifically for the exam and not show as much as you can. And of course pronunciation, because when people are at a loss they can start mumbling, stuttering, and mispronounce some sounds and so on. Well, and as we can see, there's another review from Elena, who was too nervous taking IELTS. Maybe she or someone else who took any other exams can confirm that being nervous can influence all spheres that they need to demonstrate. So what can we do? First of all, it's important to boost your students' confidence, or your own confidence if you are here for your own sake to know how to prepare for the exams. It's important to develop a good strategy. That is, to know that you have enough time, that you can prepare for everything, that you can practice all skills, that you know the requirements, that you know the marks that this or that task can receive, and so on. It's also important to practice in real time, because if you have never tried to read this text within 20 minutes, how do you know if you can or cannot do it? If you haven't practiced speaking for TOEFL, for example, with 15 seconds thinking time and 45 seconds speaking time, how do you know that you can prepare and you can formulate your thoughts so that you can squeeze everything in those 45 seconds? And especially for speaking, because it's the most stressful part for many students, it's important to do test each test. When you speak as you can, then the teacher helps you, maybe gives you some ideas, corrects the mistakes, adds some vocabulary, and your second attempt should be better than the first one, because you can take into account all those remarks, helpful ideas, and so on. And in this way you can see that you improve immediately, and it gives you confidence to think that you can succeed in taking the test. Okay, and we'll look at two exams that are the most popular. Unfortunately, our time limit does not allow us to explore all exams that your students can possibly take. That's why I didn't include Cambridge exams here. If someone has a lot of experience, I saw that some people were writing in the chat that they have prepared students for Cambridge exams. If you can see something that is similar or something that is absolutely different for Cambridge exams, I think we would all appreciate some useful comments in the chat. So feel free to write everything that you would like to add. So I will start with TOEFL, and I hope Olga can help us with this information. As you know, TOEFL stands for the test of English as a foreign language. Many people think that it's strictly American. In fact, it's international. You can need it for any other countries. Mostly people do it for studying, and it is reflected in the materials chosen. But it can also be used for work and immigration purposes. All 4 skills are tested here. If I had to take TOEFL, for me, the most intimidating part would be speaking to a computer. But we have to practice how to do it because it's the requirement. This test is internet-based. Well, in fact, there is a paper-based version, but it is in use only in the countries where there's no internet. So as you are all here listening to me online, I can assume that you do not live in those countries, so for us it's only internet-based, and here is the link to the official website, and all the links in this presentation will be clickable once you receive it in the email. Let's look at the test structure. There are 4 sections. The time limit is quite serious. It means that there's no time to think too much, to take your time and maybe correct everything twice. No, you should be really quick, think on your feet, and be prepared for some surprises, because as you can see, for reading and listening it could be 60 or 80 or 90 minutes. 36 to 56 questions, 34 to 51 questions for listening. Why is that so? Because you can be lucky and be able not only to test your skills but also test the test. There's no way to know it beforehand, but you can get some extra questions because they're constantly improving the test, and they are including some sections that are not counted in your score, but it is done for the purpose of seeing if this new task can be used in the test further. So it's an extra stress when you are prepared to do the listening for 60 minutes and you have to do it for 90 minutes instead. But as you don't know which tasks are for you and which tasks are for this experimental purposes, you have to be concentrated and be able to work as hard as you can and show the best result. Then you have some short break, and then there are two other parts, speaking and writing. Speaking is 6 tasks for 20 minutes. We'll talk about everything in detail a bit later. And writing time limit is also quite short. You have only 50 minutes to do 2 tasks. Both of them are quite wordy. As for the scores, it's very important to know what exactly the institution that requires you to take this test is looking for. Some of them need you to show some average, like no less than 100 or 110 or some other numbers. For some of them, it's important for you to have some good score in every skill. It means that if, for example, your reading and listening are very strong, but you're not so sure about writing and you want to do your best with your stronger skills, if they require a good score in every skill, the strategy doesn't work for you. You have to develop your weaker sides and to show more or less balanced results. So it's very important to know what is expected. If you have a student who is not sure, I would recommend, talking to the institution where the student is going to present this result. Maybe he should write an email or to call them and make sure that you are working towards the right aim, not practicing something that can spoil their results. Would be a huge mistake here. So as for the reading, as the test is mostly academic, all reading material is academic. Like in usual textbooks, some difficult words have definitions, and even if the subject is unfamiliar, if you don't know anything about astronomy or building bridges or something like this, there will be enough information in the text to answer the questions. When one person is talking, and dialogues is 2 to 1. So if you are lucky to have 9 passages, then 6 of them would be academic talks, 3 of them would be dialogues. There are 6 questions per an academic talk and 5 questions per dialogue. Even if the subject is unfamiliar, again, like with reading, you can answer the questions just from the information in the recording. Here the most challenging thing is that you don't see the task before listening, which contradicts the communicative approach that most of us prefer, and it contradicts actually the common sense, because in our real life we always know why we are listening to this or that piece of information. We want to know a lot of details or this particular thing or something in general. So what could be recommended here? As the designers of the test say, by the nature of this conversation, you can understand what you will be asked at the end. But still, it's important to be able to take notes, because they can help you. Maybe you have written something down, and then when you see the question, that's exactly what you need. And usually books on TOEFL preparation give you a lot of information about some useful strategies how to prepare for TOEFL listening. As for writing, there are two tasks. One of them is integrated. When you listen to a part of a lecture and then you read some theoretical piece of information, usually you should refer to both of them to show some contrast or to show how one of them supports the other one and so on. It's very important to follow this structure. There will be three basic points in both the lecture and the reading material. It's important to take notes while listening and refer to them while writing, and it's important to learn some templates, how to compare the information in source 1 and source 2. Whatever you are writing about, it will be pretty standard, so if you learn how to do good structuring and summarize the information, you will succeed with any type of integrated writing. As for the independent writing, it's just an essay. It's important to develop the ideas, to answer the question properly, to organize it properly, like we can see here. It's some sort of a cake. You have your introduction and conclusion, 3 body paragraphs. You should include examples if necessary, give the reasons for your opinions and so on, and of course language use, good vocabulary, good grammar, it's also counted. As for the speaking, there are 6 tasks. 2 of them are on familiar topics. That means that you have 15 seconds to think and 45 seconds to talk about something not very difficult. And there are also integrated speaking activities. Read, listen, and speak. The same as writing, only you have to talk about it, to summarize what people said, basically using the same structure as for writing. And also listen and speak. More or less the same, only without reading. Here you have 30 seconds to prepare and a minute to speak. We will look at the independent speaking structure. Here it's essential to learn how to take notes, because your 15 seconds should be devoted to note taking. Whatever is your first idea that comes to your mind is good, because you have no time to reconsider. You have your main point and give 2 reasons and 2 details for each reason. That makes a logical structure for your speaking. For example, what is a best gift? It's a pet. Why? Because it is educational. It means that children learn responsibility and they learn the stages of life. When they get a little puppy, then it grows into a mature dog, and then it gets old. They can see how life works in nature. And also any pet is a good friend, because pets are never judgmental, and children often are alone these days. Their parents work too much and the pet keeps them company. Something like this can be produced in 45 seconds if you spend your 15 seconds planning it in this way. And some useful links for TOEFL preparation. I think some of them might be familiar for you, something will be new, and if you have something else to add, maybe you have prepared your students using some other materials, feel free to share in the chat now. I would like to remind you that we have a special option of asking questions, because in the chat something very important can be lost easily. So here there is a button for questions. If you have something very important to ask, I would recommend using that button. And I'm moving to IELTS overview. So IELTS means International English Language Testing System. It is also done for work, studying, and immigration purposes. All 4 skills here are tested, and speaking is one-on-one, talking to a real person. There are 2 versions of this test, academic and general, and here there is a link to the official website, which is quite informative, I would say. How is this exam structured? Listening takes 40 minutes, so not as stressful as TOEFL. 30 minutes for listening and 10 minutes for filling the blanks. Reading is 60 minutes, 3 texts 60 minutes. Writing is also 60 minutes, 20 plus 40 for 2 tasks. And speaking is 11 to 14 minutes, depends on how talkative you are. As you can see, listening and speaking are the same. Reading for academic and general modules is different, the same as writing. Let's look at band scores. Actually, it applies to TOEFL or any other test. It's important to set realistic goals because if we're talking about IELTS, actually a person with any level can take this test, but as you can see, the end of A2 level, the beginning of B1 is something like 4. This result is valid. It's a score, but it's not good for presenting it anywhere. In order to start working, studying in any place, you are expected to get no less than 5.5. In some cases, even 7 or 7.5, depends on the situation. So if you have an elementary level student who needs to take this exam in a month, it would be absolutely unrealistic to strive for some high score. There's just not enough time. It's physically impossible. Sometimes students say that not because they're overconfident. It's just because they have no idea what this score means. So you should explain, and maybe if they have a choice, if they have time, maybe they should wait and take the test a bit later when they're better prepared. So as you can see, to have really good results, it would be very nice to finish B2 level, ideally. So as for IELTS and the structure of this test, we will start with listening. As you can see, there are 4 sections. Some of them are also connected with some academic subjects, something that your students might require if they are taking this test for further studying purposes. Also something about social needs, and there are different numbers of speakers from 1 to 4, but here it's a bit easier to take this test because the student can see the task before listening, and it's strongly advised to make the most of this opportunity, to teach your student how to find the keywords in the questions, try to predict what can go in the gaps, and so on. As for the reading, there are 3 reading abstracts. If it is academic, then the texts would be from journals, magazines, books, newspapers, something related to the academic world. If it's general, then it's something that people live in, that people read in their everyday life, like advertisements, booklets, leaflets, manuals, and so on. In both cases, it's written for non-specialists. So for general understanding, there's enough that you can see in the text. You don't have to be an expert in every sphere. As for the writing, if the student is taking the academic module, they have to be able to describe graphs. Even if they have no idea what GDP means, they can see that the blue marker was rising constantly, but for a slight drop in 1996, if I can see it correctly, while the red marker was growing steadily without any drops, and the blue marker was always bigger than the red marker, and it was in 1996 when the difference between them was the smallest, and in the year 2000 the difference between them was the biggest, and so on. They don't need to know what exactly they are writing about, but they have to know a lot of cliches, how to describe trends. If it is the general module, then it's an email, it's a letter on some everyday topic, like a letter to your friend to find out if they're interested in buying your television, or a letter to inquire if there is a free place in some course that you would like to attend, and so on. As for the task 2, it's more or less the same for both modules. It's an essay. Actually, the structure is the same as for the TOEFL test, only here you have a bit more time and the word limit is less. So you have more freedom to express your thoughts. It's very important to read the question properly, to pay attention to the keywords. For example, here, agree, disagree, reasons, examples. You should include all of them, otherwise your task completion will lose some points. As for the speaking, there are 3 parts. The first one is just introduction, some small talk to get to know your examiner a little bit, to get used maybe to their speech and have some first impression, to relax and prepare for some more intensive speaking. The second part would be a 2-minute talk on a familiar topic. You will have a card with questions. It's important to understand what the question is about, and again include all points listed there. Actually, this card could be kind of a plan for your future speaking, but again it's possible to make notes, and if they help to structure the talk, then it's only for the benefit of the person who's taken the exam. But part 3 would be a two-way discussion between the examiner and the examinee on issues related to the topic in part 2, but it would be deeper, maybe more theoretical, more sophisticated, and what is recommended here is to follow instructions. For both part 2 and part 3, listen to the question carefully, or look at the question and see all the main ideas in order to present what is required. Stay on topic. It's a good idea to show that you understand what you are asked about and you are able to give coherent answers. But, of course, it can happen that the question is about something that the person has no idea about. Then it's okay to deviate a little bit, but to present a good response. It's important to extend the answer, not just reply like, how did you get here? Oh, okay, that was fine. It's a good chance to show some good vocabulary, show off reasonably, to talk about maybe the traffic situation or something else. Something that you prepared in advance and now you can show. And of course being confident, which comes with practice, and by practice here I mean doing these tasks together with your student, following part 1, part 2, part 3, for them to be familiar with the structure. And again, some useful links for taking IELTS that you can find in your presentation in the email. And here is a scale to compare IELTS and TOEFL scores, because sometimes you might have a student who has tried one test and didn't succeed, but for example the university where they intend to study can accept either of the tests, so they decided to take a different one. And here you can see how realistic it is to achieve a good score if, for example, they need something more than 110 in TOEFL. They tried and they failed in speaking. I had such a student. And the score of 7.5 in IELTS is also acceptable. Then you can see that actually your student is good to go. You just need to practice a little bit and show this result. If your student needs 8, then you have to work a little bit more, but knowing that speaking was more difficult, you can concentrate on speaking. Well, as for the informative part of my presentation. That would be it. I would like to show you some links to our school website and SkyTeach, our website for teachers with a lot of useful information, not only on exam preparation, but some other aspects of teaching. And if you're interested in working with us, here is a link for your job applications. And now I would like to see more questions, maybe more personal experience, and I would probably start with our chat because I can see there is some discussion. Nadezhda is writing that it was difficult for her to speak because she felt lack of vocabulary. That's why I think that this approach of test, teach, test is really good, because if you practice saying the same things twice or maybe several times, then it's easier to do it, to remember what you were talking about before with your teacher while talking to the examiner. Okay, some discussion about past simple and present perfect, which is a bit irrelevant now, and I'm looking at our questions. What course books can you recommend to prepare a student for IELTS? Good question. I'll have to look at them. I really like what I really like is called, where did I see it? I even have this folder open in my computer. It's called Complete IELTS, and there are books for different bands, like 6.5, 7.5. If you do everything perfectly while working with this book, you are more or less guaranteed to get this score. They are very well balanced. You can practice all skills while working with this book, so they're quite good. And what I also like is a set of books that is aimed at particular scores. It's published by Macmillan, and it's about writing separately, reading separately. So the titles would be, just a second. Waiting for my book to open, and it takes forever. And a good question. Has anyone ever prepared students for IELTS Life Skills B1? Actually, this is my first time for the preparation of this kind. I have no materials and should work out the tasks myself. Maybe if you had such experience, you can share with me. Yes, that would be nice if someone can share. Cliches for IELTS TOEFL writing. There are plenty of blogs dedicated to that. You can just Google it. You will find tons of cliches. Someone has written Macmillan writing, reading, such names. Yeah, it's just called Reading Skills, Writing Skills, published by Macmillan. Now I have opened the book. There's nothing special. Just reading skills and writing skills, and so on. Okay. How long would you recommend to prepare for an exam, from B1 or B2? Well, that's a question. Mostly to the student, because some people are ready to work every day, like 5 times a week, 2 hours per day. Some people are ready to work twice a week for 1 hour. As you can see, the first person will be studying with you for 10 hours per week, and the second person only 2 hours per week. Also, it depends on how much they work on their own, how ready they are to do their homework, because even with exam preparation classes, sometimes we can see students who are reluctant to do their homework. But some average student would need at least 4 months, maybe, to prepare properly. So maybe there are more questions. Unfortunately, our format here doesn't allow interaction. When we had this webinar for teachers of our school, we could talk to each other. We actually role-played all those teach test structures, and we practiced doing reading tasks and writing tasks. That was more fun. How is it better to teach students in groups or individually? Well, that's an interesting question indeed. I wouldn't say that it's worse either way, because, well, in a group, you can let them talk to each other. In a group, they can share and they can peer teach. They can share their strategies. They can help each other cope with some difficult tasks, so they can benefit from each other. Individually, you can see the weak points of every student, and they don't need to wait for someone who is slower. And actually, as for the speaking, they can benefit more from you listening to them and pointing out their mistakes. So here it depends on where you work and what format of teaching you normally use. So both of them have their advantages. I wouldn't say there are any disadvantages in groups or individually. Okay, do we have any more questions? What course would you recommend for TOEFL preparation? To be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with TOEFL. I know that Barron's books are considered to be the best. I personally haven't worked with them. I was using some Longman preparation course for the TOEFL test. It looked good to me. And I believe there is some Cambridge course on TOEFL. And if someone has more experience and maybe better books to share, that would be nice if you could do it now. Okay, the previous page with useful sites. Okay, this is for IELTS. I can show it now, but you will all get this presentation. It will be emailed to you. You will have all the links clickable, and you will be able to access everything. A young teacher, my level is upper intermediate. I would say that a person with the upper intermediate level can prepare students for some lower bands, because you would struggle with the materials yourself if you aim at something that is above your level. And I'm not sure how well you can spot mistakes. So I would recommend, yes, improving your own English first. Yeah, Cambridge preparation for the TOEFL test. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. That's a good book indeed. $400 must-know words for TOEFL. Sounds interesting. Have never seen that, but I'm sure it's great. Online resources, yes. In the list of links for TOEFL, I won't click back because it's like far away in the presentation. There is a link to a great resource on YouTube. There is a channel all about TOEFL. I don't remember its name, but I would see, and you will actually see when you start exploring the links. There are really good ideas about strategies, how to take notes, how to listen, how to react to this, and so on. Okay, and I can see some other questions here. What is more important in speaking part of IELTS, accuracy or fluency? Well, of course, fluency, because it's a skill. Accuracy is counted, of course. If you make a lot of mistakes or if you misuse the words, it's not a good idea to impress the examiner in this way. Of course, accuracy is important, but how well your ideas are connected, or if you are stuck, how you can say something like, that's an interesting question indeed. To be honest, I've never thought of that, but now as you have asked me about it, instead of just, yes, so if the student is able to do that, it shows that they are able to speak. Any internet resources to use for self-study and mastering all skills on students' own pace? Yes, you have the links in the presentation. You will see them later in the mail. Why do my students always try to compare FCE and USA exams, and they're sure that they are similar and they're not afraid of passing FCE? Well, Tatiana, I have no idea what to say because I have never worked with those tests myself. If anyone can answer this question, that would be great. But in any case, I would be happy if my students were not afraid of passing exams. It's always good. Even if the exams are not similar, even if it's something new for them, it's good to have confidence. Okay. Is anyone able to help Tatiana with those exams? So we don't seem to have any more questions, do we? So if we don't see any more questions here, then let me show you this last slide again. Oh no, there's a question appeared. Just a second, let me see. Spelling mistakes counted in listening part of IELTS? Yes, that's a great question. Spelling mistakes are counted everywhere. So if you were filling in the gap and misspelled a word, some points will be taken off. So make sure that your student's spelling is immaculate. Okay. Well, again, if we don't have any more questions, then let me direct you to our school website and our website for English teachers. If you're interested in working with us, feel free to apply for a job using the last link here. I would like to thank everyone, especially those who were actively chatting and sharing some ideas about the exam preparation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your work. Have a great day. Enjoy your teaching. And hope to talk to you soon. Goodbye.